Are you ready?
I am. I'm always ready.
Have you been on somebody else's podcast before?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've been on Quantal's podcast. And I've been on a Creative Maven podcast. And I've been...
How do they introduce you when you come on their show?
Quantal introduced me as a founder of Kobo Bottle and a friend of his and founder of Kobo Pod. And I think he used the word accolade. He was like, and I'm not going to mention the other accolades. And I was like, what is an accolade? I think it's an accomplishment or, you know, the things that
like
you've
an
done
award.
in your life, which I find really interesting, to be honest with you. It's a little irritating. It's not like whenever you go to meet someone, and that's why I don't do introductions on my podcast.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's sort of annoying that people, I mean, if you met someone new, would you just be like, hey, this is my friend. She's a doctor and she went to school here, here, and here, and has her own practice here, here, and here. You should get in touch with her. No, like, hey, this is my friend. She's bitching.
This is Logan. He's a badass dude. Yeah. No, or I would be like...
bitching. I like that. That's the way I introduce you.
Yeah, like I think I would say, this is Logan. He's a crazy motherfucker who does a lot of stuff.
I appreciate that. I've introduced you before to my friends at like dinner parties or house parties, or to my girlfriend, or to art events, and to Dave and people. And I usually introduce you as a friend of mine who is someone I've surfed with, and we work together in some capacity.
And swam.
She's a bitchin' chick. And she definitely wears her own pants.
Oh my gosh.
I think that would be it. She wears her own pants. That pretty much sums it up.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And yours is you're vibey.
What does that mean?
Like a positive human with a lot of energy.
A lot of energy. I could see that part. Yeah.
You're like not so much the positive right now.
Yeah. No, you know, I work on that every moment, it seems.
Yeah.
It's sometimes a challenge.
I think it is for everybody.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I don't know. There are people though, I think I was born like disgustingly optimistic.
Same.
Yeah.
I see that in you. I think that's why we vibe. I think that's why we're so vibey.
Or because we're both gingers. We've had to fight through life. No,
I'm just going to be honest. Like, that's probably the coolest thing about our relationship, to be honest with you, is that we're both like super bitching people and super vibey, and we're redhead. That comes first, not in that order.
Yeah, there aren't that many of us.
And being a strong, empowered, and I think doing your own thing, redhead, is pretty cool. Not giving a F about what folks think, because I thought a lot about that whenever I was younger, trying to fit in. And
Totally. Did you feel like as a redhead you didn't fit in?
yeah, I knew I didn't.
Yeah.
I was picked on because I didn't.
Yeah.
I was different.
Yeah. I definitely felt the same way. But I mean, I grew up in a place where I was like the only white person, let alone the only white person with red hair. So
Really? That's the same situation I grew up in.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up in a town called, look it up, folks, Port Arthur, Texas. And it's mostly, I'd say, marsh land down there, shrimping. It's a shrimping and refining town.
That's right.
Close to the Louisiana border, close to the Gulf of Mexico. So you have a very cultured community, and Caucasian folks were, like at my school, I was one of the 2 white kids at my school. So the middle schoolers would come over when I was in elementary school. They got out 30 minutes before me. And it was 3 of them, same 3 kids, would come over to the elementary school, wait for me to cross the street, and kick my ass every day like clockwork. They would spit on me, throw my bike down, kick me, punch me.
Yeah.
It was bad. Got really bad.
How did you get out of that eventually?
I fought back actually once, and I just went nuts. I don't even know what happened. I turned like the Tasmanian devil. I was like scratching and biting and tearing, and I was just done, you know?
Yeah. And then they left you alone.
No, it escalated the situation, unfortunately.
Oh.
They brought weapons the next time, a gun specifically.
Wow.
Then I think the kid went to juvie for like ever, and I never heard anything more about it. And then my life was great. It's kind of like one kid, you know, the leader of the pack.
Yeah. It's interesting how that happens.
Yeah. But I mean, it was just, I think it was just being different. I don't know if it's necessarily color or color of hair or whatever, you know. Even when I was in middle school and high school, I think, you know, underprivileged kids or kids with special needs were also picked on. Yeah. And I always stood up for them where I could, when I saw it happening, because I was a little different too. So I think it's just about being different. People don't understand it, and they
don't know what to do, so they react.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily.
But why to be mean? Why being mean is the go-to? I'm not sure why that is. To pick on rather than to console or make them feel part of the family or part of the community is an interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think it might come down to, like, if you look at, like, people trust people that are like them from like a physiological standpoint. Like we're hardwired to be more trusting of people that look like our caregivers in a lot of ways. There's like data and research or whatever around that. But I think it's interesting that now, I remember like as a child, all you want to do is fit in and be like everybody else. But now everyone's like, be unique, be different.
Yeah.
Like what makes you different is like, what is your biggest asset? And so it's totally 100%. Flipped around. I'm like, why can't we have that when we're children?
Yeah. You know, I think a large part in our generation was, you know, I tie it back to the media, to be honest with you. Movies and media, Blockbuster, all that stuff. You can actually trace it back in history. Redheads in the U.S. and North America were always the crazy hothead killer in movies, or they were the awkward, you know, nerdy, geeky kid who was, you know, secretly thinking really perverse things in his or her mind in the movies. And then you had Mad Magazine, which was this absolutely idiocy looking, big eared cartoon character on the front of a Mad Magazine who just looked like a total doofus.
Yeah.
And, you know, there were just characters in history, in North America at least, I believe, that sort of set the stage to make fun of the characteristics of gingers.
Totally.
They've got Kick a Ginger Day. They've got, you know, really abusive kind of days on calendars. There's Kick a Ginger Day. Did you know that?
Yeah.
But yet there's days for other races that celebrate the empowerment of those races. You look at Jews, you know, I'm part Jewish as well. And I think history lays the foundation for our current conditioning on what we think I don't even think I know, is our already listening is what I call it. I'm already listening whenever I see a person of, you know, when I say me, I mean us. We as people of this generation see a person of color, or see a redhead, or see a, you know, someone who's smaller than everyone else, or someone who's larger than everyone else, and we have this already listening or judging them based on what we think we know.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know any better otherwise.
Like what would have happened had they made these characters like revered almost for being redheads?
Yeah. That's our strength. It's our superpower, though. To be beat down for generations in history and become something and make that our biggest asset.
Yeah. Like as a redhead, to accomplish certain goals and do certain things that like puts pride in me, like for my kind.
I love that so much. You celebrate it and you post it everywhere. It's one of my favorite things. Honestly, it's one of my favorite things. You are unregretfully wearing your own pants.
Yeah, well, I feel like in a way, I'm like, I wish that I love seeing, not to make this all about redheads, but I love seeing young redheads like out in the streets, like little children. And it just warms my heart. And I just wish, I'm like, I want them to not feel bad about that part of themselves. And this might like sounds, it's just like so superficial, but it's true, like being made fun of for something that you can't control when you're a child.
Yeah.
You know?
When you see that, there's a way to reinforce positive growth and positive reinforcement in their mind, is go over there and tell them, say, hey, I love your freckles and I think your hair is really cool, and give them a high five. That's what I do when I see a redhead.
Yeah.
Because if someone had done that to me instead of picked on me, even my family picked on me. You know, it's not only the people, because that's just the thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was just a generational thing. Mm-hmm. My dad would call me his redheaded little girl because I had long red hair. Oh my God. And it really got under my skin, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
You know, he'd introduce me to his friends that way.
Oh wow.
Cool, huh?
And it's like you don't, I know people say things all the time and you kind of just like bury it down and you don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Or you like smile through it.
Yeah.
But okay, so what do you think that all of this did? Like this foundation, I know that this is just a small part of your childhood probably, right? But what did all of this do? Because you've created so much success for yourself.
That's relative. But yeah, I feel like I'm successful.
Okay, that's a good point. Success is totally
no. But I understand the
by
question. No, I understand the question. I don't always feel that way. So I appreciate that you say it that way, because if it's seen, and I find you to be a successful individual. So if you think so, then I appreciate that. That's a high regard in my mind. So I appreciate you saying that. And how has that affected my success? Is that?
Or like, what do you think drove you, or how did all of your life experiences when you were younger drive you to where you are now? Or did they?
I think that I'm fortunate, very fortunate that my parents are who they are, even though neither one of them were like there the entire time. A large group of people raised me, so I got a lot of different perspectives, but I'm very grateful that the genetics that I got from my parents are the genetics I got from my parents, because my mother is unregretfully positive. She's just a delight all the time. And my father can turn anything negative into something positive, and he's more manic than he is depressive. And on the diathesis spectrum of, you know, manic and depressive and balanced being in the middle. So I think like you, I'm just bred to be positive and see positive things in the challenges that we face.
So when you're faced with that decision of going deeper down or breaking through the wall, was there like a moment, or do you think that there is a thing that you did that led you the other direction? Yeah,
the consequences in the deeper moment is the most epic of consequences versus the other, which is a journey of positivity. And when you face like the bottom, like many people have, you have a moment of choice. And I chose to go the positive direction. And I talk about this a lot, actually. I think it's more of it's like a mind hack, where I think we were just talking about this in a recent podcast of mine, where when you're faced with a challenge, or if you're faced with something negative, or, you know, shit's just going awry, you're going to work it out, or you're not. Those are your only two options. Yeah. How you work it out, how you feel about that, and the process that you follow to do that is really up to you. And if you haven't had guidance, or you're not self-aware, you're like not like a really deep thinker, and you don't really work out the million different scenarios of getting to your success spot, and then you consciously choose that path to your success spot. If you're just like, oh, it'll work out, you know, well, it's okay to know that it's going to work out. It is, or it's not. But that's not up to you necessarily. I think honestly it comes back to a core, like one core belief is
Hear it.
You have two options, right? Punch through the other side and have fun doing it and have a bitchin' time and bring as many people along with you that have positive attitudes, or be a total fucking bummer about it and feel like the victim of the world or the victim of life. And that sucks. I've never felt that way. I've met people that way. And I know, like we've all met those people. And that is not a way to live for me.
Yeah.
Not an option.
And when I see that people like you're describing, I'm like, do you think it's that they don't see it themselves, or they don't know how to get out of it, or it's just comfortable to stay in that place?
They're conditioned.
Yeah.
Their life has conditioned them to feel and then behave and react based on the way they feel. They also might have taken it on the chin enough times that they can't find a way to break through, or they haven't had that conversation yet with someone, or haven't heard someone have a conversation yet to motivate them, or they haven't hit rock bottom in such a way that they truly understand the consequence. Maybe it's only money. Maybe it's only food from day to day. Maybe it's one of those things. Maybe they're not facing death in the face. You know, maybe they've never really had that opportunity to know what the true consequence of the bottom is. If you don't understand what the true consequence of the bottom is, you don't see it because you're afraid of it. We're afraid of death. We're afraid of living, because living, really truly living, adds risk. The risks we add, and hey, look, this is a very complicated subject of like, it's not very risky to sit here and drink a beer and have a conversation with you. It's not very risky to go out on a 1 to 2 foot day in Oceanside. You can do that. No big deal. But then whenever you got a big shore pound and it's like 5 to 7 or 6 to 8, and you go out there and you're like, holy shit, I could drown today.
Yeah.
Anybody could walk out and paddle out into that. Anybody could. Those folks that don't know the consequences and do that, they're crazy or ignorant. They just don't know. They just don't know what the consequences are. All due respect to the word ignorance, but they just don't know what the consequences are. So the risks are there. They just don't truly understand what the consequence or the risk is. It looks scary, but they don't get it. They haven't done the math. They haven't experienced it. I've been that guy. I've paddled out in Oregon in like huge breaks that I had absolutely no business being in. Now that I know. So it's the same. It's the same situation that we're talking about. If you don't understand what the true consequence is, or if the consequences have been like here, which is like way from rock bottom, like way far from rock bottom, like, oh, I didn't get my check this week or this month, or I'm gonna have to figure out how to go to food stamps and do this and do that. But when it's like true imminent danger on your life and your family or your friends or whatever, and death is like the consequence, you have no other option of life and death. That's it. Life and death. That's where you can boil it down to a consequence where you can start making real deal strategic decisions. And if you think about every moment, every day when you wake up, today could be your last day.
Yeah.
To live or die.
Yeah. Or both.
So what are you going to choose? If that's the real consequence, what do you choose, Kirsten?
Fucking live.
Live it to the fullest, right? Take the risks.
Yeah.
Have fun doing it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
So I guess then on that, like what do you get so stoked to get out of bed for every day? Like to live for?
This kind of shit. To reflect, to think, to have bitching conversations with my buddy Dave and my girlfriend and you, to grow, to have these just, living in New York is different from living in Southern California versus Texas versus Portland, all these places. And if I think back, like, what was I thinking then? What did I wake up for then? Now the answer is completely different from an environmental perspective. Like, I can't wait to go down to the beach. What if the beach wasn't there? What if the ocean wasn't there? What do I live for then? So I truly always come back to life and death. Like, what do I wake up for? I live to die that same day. Today, I wake up and I don't know exactly what's coming. I got meetings and I got this, that, and the other, but what's happening in my tiny brain in between? Where am I thinking? Where's my consciousness? How am I expanding my mind? How am I growing? How am I evolving? Am I evolving as rapidly as I possibly can? Am I taking as many risks to push myself to grow as fast and as hard as I can? That's what I live for.
Yeah.
Is to grow and evolve as rapidly as I possibly can in every experience that I have.
I feel like that's deep.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work.
Actually, that's a really good way to look at it. Like imagining if this was your last day on earth, because I think so much of us live in our minds so much of the day. But like if this is your last day on earth, what are you going to choose to think about?
Yeah, but it is potentially.
Yeah.
We don't have that option. It absolutely could be. Mm-hmm. It's not up to you. It's not up to me.
Yeah.
That's the bitchin' part about this gig.
This gig.
But really.
Okay, what you were just saying though made me think about, you know how you're talking about rapidly growing your brain and like developing yourself as much as you can. And there's like this whole world of personal development and self-growth and like all of these books and shows and like just anything and everything. And I'm like, I think that this podcast might even be labeled as self-development. I don't know. Like in the Apple podcast category.
Of course it is. But everything can fall under that category.
Yeah, like any conversation you can learn from any person, anything, whatever it may be. But like, I actually was listening to a podcast for one of my clients the other day, and they were interviewing someone who's like a spiritual guru. And he was basically saying that all of these people trying to expand themselves and become more aware and become more present as like the highest version of themselves by consuming all of this content, they're actually stopping themselves from being able to become that. And I was like, that's so true. Like,
it's absolutely true. And my key question is, do they fucking deserve it? Do they deserve what they're asking for? Do they deserve it? What are they asking for? What are they being enlightened to do? What is their end goal? You want to manifest something? What have humans been manifesting for 4 generations? For the last 200 years, what have we manifested? Concrete buildings, refineries, a new car every 3 years, plastic goods that get thrown away. Now we're going to manifest this brilliant idea to build a business. Do we even know what this business is going to do to Mother Nature or do to humanity? What are we being coached to manifest? What are we doing? What do we deserve? Why do we feel so entitled to be so enlightened and consume so much data about enlightenment and positive growth and all these things? Like, have you earned one element of any of that? What have you given back to earn this like true connection? Yeah. And can you achieve it? Or are you just spouting off some buzzwords like every fucking body else? I'm sorry.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask you, because I was like, I know you have a unique perspective that's probably different from a lot of people's.
Biggest compliment I've gotten today. Unique perspective. Thank you.
How would one be worthy of that or deserving of it? Or what do you think is?
I can't answer it.
Yeah.
Can't answer that. I don't know. And it's not for me to judge. I actually present the question to them. And that is the question we should be asking ourselves. You want enlightenment? Look inside. Don't look to the data. Drop the book. Drop the course. Take your shoes off. Take your shirt off. Take your pants off. Walk out of the house wearing God knows what, and I don't care what it is, something ridiculous or nothing at all, and go experience life. That will enlighten you. Through experience, finding wisdom, finding yourself cannot be taught. You cannot coach it. You cannot coach how to find yourself. Now, there are tips and tricks to help people escape anxiety. There are tips and tricks to help people escape writer's block. I could go on and on and on. sometimes we get caught in a cycle. Sometimes we get caught in phases of life where we need a little help busting through the other side. That redheaded kid that you think is adorable, that you kind of maybe see a little bit of yourself in, maybe feeling insecure or like an outcast because they have red hair and pale skin and freckles. The day you go over there and give them a high five and say, I like your freckles and the color of your hair is pretty bitchin', dude, or little girl, and give them a high five, that could be all they needed. You know what I mean?
Totally. I feel like there are so many moments in life that people have done things, like for me personally, or said to me, or like actions that people have done in front of me that have totally changed my perspective on like myself or my life or the world, and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
And how did that happen? Did they read a book about it? Did you read a book about it? No, they left the house and they opened their mind and their mouth to have a conversation that most people would be unwilling to have. I take that back. I don't want to judge most people and their unwillingness. What I would like to say is that people say the things that are good to people, do good things to people. That will empower them. That will allow them a new experience, and leave the house unique. Leave the house yourself, as much of yourself as you can be. And you won't know who that is unless you let it go. Like, let go and just do it. Right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Put yourself at risk. Face death in the face, and you will quickly discover how important to live in the moment is, and to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Vulnerable. We are so protective of ourselves and our egos and our image, and did we say the right thing, or we're so hard on ourselves when it's okay, but we're on a growth journey, no doubt, because we have been conditioned to be hard on ourselves by social media, by everybody around us, et cetera, et cetera. And so the thing is, like, I get it. Like, I totally get it. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm learning so much these days. I'm being so enlightened these days by meeting people that really don't feel okay with being themselves. It's kind of like Who Wears Your Pants is that's the whole premise, is to be yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not that easy. No one's teaching us, but that's why these courses exist, right? And that's why people are empowerment and all of this stuff is we need to hear it sometimes. We need to hear it's okay to be yourself. We need that hug, that verbal hug,
Such a nice way to say it. Yeah, I think it's probably like something that comes in moderation of what you choose to consume.
And for a long time, we haven't been getting enough of that, and people are sometimes, hard on us.
Yeah, now it's a shower of it.
Yeah.
It's coming down.
Yeah. So I'm not suggesting that we don't need help, and I'm not suggesting that, I've got it all figured out and that people just need to go out and like drive fast or come close to drowning, or, not fear death, or take risks in order to experience life, epic risks that, death is is the true consequence. I'm not saying you should do that every moment of your life. I don't do that, but I do think that what I know is that it's not up to you today whether you live or die. If you sit on the couch, the risks are much lower, for sure. That's up to you. But man, it's not living. Not for me.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny for me as you're saying this, I'm thinking like every time I've ever gotten injured, it's always doing something benign. And maybe this is just me, but like, I think I'm probably going to hurt myself really bad paddling out in massive swell. That's not usually when I hurt myself. It's like I'm walking into my apartment and I break my toe, or, like something stupid, something so tiny. And then it makes me realize like how every single moment, like you could die at any moment.
Or how you peeled out of here on my bike with my surfboard and did a figure eight in the middle of Wisconsin Street in PCH. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was an accident. I was
Well, but that's what I'm saying. You were riding a bike to go get some coffee, and you all like.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, this is a terrible intersection to be doing figure eights on accident and have no control. And you're quite possibly one of the most coordinated, like physically fit and capable people I know.
Thank you.
That's why I was just like, damn, okay.
And
She's going down. That's what I was thinking.
I thought I was too for a moment, and I was like, I'm gonna break.
I'm
your
gonna
surfboard.
save his surfboard.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how we got here.
Well, the risks. Well, what you're talking, I think about is like you always get hurt doing benign things.
Oh yes, yeah.
Simple, silly things.
Yeah, but then I think that makes you realize how anything can happen at any moment in time.
Thank you for that perspective. Actually, that's a great way to explain it.
Yeah.
That's a little thing.
Yeah. I will never forget. I was reading. This is a long time ago. I read a book. Of course. But in it, the guy, when a part of the story, it basically came down to this statement that there are no ordinary moments in life. And I just always remember that.
That's perspective. That's up to us.
Yeah.
If it's ordinary or if it feels bleh.
Yeah.
Blah.
So it's hard because sometimes I think that there are people that I'm like, get off the fucking couch and go do something.
Right.
But you can't really.
You find yourself on the couch how often? Not doing anything. Right? As soon as I said it earlier, I was just like foot in mouth. Sometimes it's good to sit on the couch, but I think I sit on the couch or a chair doing nothing 5 minutes a week. If I were to really sum it up, it's probably not even 5 minutes.
Yeah. I have to force myself to do nothing sometimes.
No.
Because I think this is something I've learned is that when we're never bored anymore. No, there's always something that you can constantly be consuming or look at or watch or read or submerge yourself in. So you're never actually using boredom to spark creativity. So sometimes I think that it's valuable to actually do nothing. I personally struggle with it, but I know that there's a benefit to it.
I fully agree with that. There's a time and a place for nothing.
Yeah.
But when I speak about this, the do nothing, I'm talking about how you utilize your time to be. The majority of your time to be. Right? There's a couple kind of people. I can't sit on a couch for more than 5 minutes because there's something I want to do. There's something like I really want to do. If I'm on the couch, I'm watching a movie, I'm expanding my mind, or I'm working or something like that. But to sit and think, I can't do that. I got to meditate. And if I'm meditating, it's another pivotal element of my growth journey. So I'm sitting still, meditating.
Still doing something.
Yeah. Trying to evolve, The risk-taking piece, even in meditation, is a high risk. You're looking inside. You're taking time to look inside. That's a scary place to be for some people, me in particular. Do you ever do that?
Do I ever go and look inside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you see?
It's like a bright light. I don't know.
Yeah.
I probably don't do it enough, I don't think.
You can take yourself on a little journey. That's what I do.
When you meditate, or?
Yeah, it's almost like self-therapy. I look inside and I try to find things I want to fix intentionally.
Like with your mind, or just being just trying to be present?
I look at the things that bothered me that day. I look at the things. It's like journaling without journaling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that I would like to fix.
Meditation is in my opinion. Some people may argue, and I don't know meditation well, but this is what I do whenever I do it. It's not a quiet time for me. It's quiet around me, but it's not an internal quiet time at all. It can be really weird. But I always work it out. And that's what that time is for. When I've got something I need to work through, I use my quiet time or my meditative time. And it's quite possibly the least quiet time in my mind than any other time. There are other meditations where I do try to just think, sort of, focus on the white light, like you said.
Yeah.
but I don't find as much growth there. I'm not solving problems there.
Yeah, if any, just like more relaxing or something, or letting go of things, perhaps.
Which is needed, no doubt, and I do attempt to do that often, but I find myself problem solving instead.
I have found that I tried to meditate and sit still and be simply present without letting thoughts run through my mind, but then the same thing happens. I actually think more. And so I find the most meditative state to be in is when I'm working out, like when I'm moving, or like if I'm running or skating or swimming.
Runner's high. Is that an example?
Sure. Well, I would define the runner's high as like what happens after. I'm thinking like while I'm working out, basically like whenever I'm in a state of flow and I'm not thinking about, I'm just solely present in the moment. I'm not thinking about anything other than like going harder. Usually as soon as I stop, all of these, or even in the midst of it, when I come out of it for a moment, like ideas will come to me, or like I'll realize certain things, or like pieces will suddenly fit together that I couldn't figure out before that were bothering me for a really long time. That's what I found to be the most, I guess, meditative.
Yeah. I worked that out as well.
Yeah.
Interesting. Everybody's got their practice.
We do. We're all different. I'm trying to think. Dave looks like he's ready.
For what?
Oh, I don't know. He's standing up. I was going to see if there's anything specific that I wanted to ask you.
TED Talk was the one thing.
Oh yeah, so I actually asked you that question just to see if there was something that you would really want to talk about. But I have found that it's the best question. I've actually been asked this before, and it really made me be like, oh yeah, it's a good question. But it's the best way to figure out what someone really wants to talk about, like what someone really cares about.
When you presented it that way, what someone really cares about, I started to really think about that part of it. Because the first thing I do is I pick that shit apart. I'm like, I say all the things I want to say every day. But if I get an audience and I get to pick the topic, and that audience is about to get broadcasted all over the world, and I got like an elevator pitch of 30 minutes to choose, and they're like, hey guy, don't care what you're going to talk about. Come on and talk for 30 minutes with us. We literally do not care. There will be 500 million listeners, or whatever the number is, right? Yeah. Is that really, that's really the question?
Yeah.
That's a bitchin' question. I love that question.
Okay, so the question is,
I'm working it out.
if you were to give a TED Talk, what would you share?
Honestly, I'm working that out right now, to be honest, but I could go like, so you got 30 minutes to an hour or whatever the time lot is. So I have to really think about what, do I have a time limit? Number one, if it's 30 minutes, okay. So I got that figured out.
I think you're thinking too hard about the
but that's
logistics and the details.
No, that's serious to me because your strategy on how you grab people and how you grab a nation and how you grab a community, to understand who the audience is on TED Talks, to understand, you've got this. I know I always overthink it, and I'm so sorry for that. But
don't ever apologize. I
think at the end of the day, I would try to explain the best I could, and I'm working out right now because I someday want to do a solo podcast on this. And I'm working out the science behind it through all the things we talked about. Conditioning, childhood. You've been hitting all the points to build up to honestly this question.
Look at that.
Which is your childhood, your conditioning, your life events, your choices, everything that's brought you to who you are today. What would be the thing that you would share with everyone? Like, that's a really hard question.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what the answer would be. I just don't know how to math and science it precisely yet. Because when I say it, I'm going to sound like a complete fucking kook or a morbid person. right? But it's literally the one single fire inside of me that makes me exactly who I am. I have no control over it anymore. I've literally mind hacked myself so far down that tube of mind hacking that I don't want to unhack it. And it comes back to what we were talking about before. Every day you got to be willing to die for what you believe in. Mm-hmm. And when I say willing to die, I mean the ultimate walking down the street, you see something going down in principle, and you are literally willing to lose your life to make a difference. Period. Mm-hmm. And that I can confidently say is what drives me every single day. And I am 1,100,000,000% willing to die to see through my principles. No questions asked. Every day, every moment, all the time. That's what makes me who I am. Mm. And I'm happy with that. It makes me feel complete because now I'm okay with anything. I know I can handle it. I'm capable. It makes me force myself to be capable. I want to be more capable so that I can execute when needed. I want to be more capable so I can live and start my life over fresh and new every single day, fresh and new every single moment, every conversation. Give it your fucking all.
So let me make sure I'm understanding you. What you're saying is basically that being willing to live or die for ultimately your principles or what you value. Mm-hmm. But in order to know what your principles are and what you value, you have to know who you are.
Yeah. And I'm still working on that. Still working on it. We all are.
Yeah. I think it never stops.
But if you, in my opinion, if you can logic things from a core principle of math and science, like there's variables moving around in the world, molecules, it starts that low, atoms and molecules. If you can algebra the shit out of something, you can find a solution. It's just a multiplicity of variables and factors to achieve or getting from point A to point B, right? It's very simple. I have a goal. I want to go there. I'm willing to die to go there. If that's the mindset that I have in my mind, I guarantee you I'm not going to pick some bullshit fucking goal for the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to mean a lot to me. And in principle, I can't argue that. No one can argue that with me. It's so clear to me at this point that no one can argue it because it's me. I chose it. I picked it. If something happens between here and there, I can 1,000% guarantee that I did my best job today just before my life was taken. I'm good.
You know what that just made me think about?
What?
As you were saying that, everyone's so focused on finding goals for themselves, on like starting this company or making this amount of money or like climbing this mountain. But really what's more important to focus on is that mindset that you just talked about, like living and dying for something that you believe in, like finding whatever it is that you value and living through that is more like figuring out your values is more important and the principles you want to live your life by than setting goals for yourself.
Just keep living. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's mine.
Is there really a right or wrong?
No. Yeah. Malicious, hate, to degrade people, humanity, animals, Mother Nature, to hurt things. That's wrong. Mm-hmm. But that's my opinion. It's just cool that we're humans and we have a consciousness to even think about this stuff.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the coolest part is that our conscious mind can make the decision right now. You can choose to walk away from the conversation today and do with it whatever you want and change, be newer, be like, oh shit, that was a waste of time. That dude's a kook, you know? Or you could do nothing with the information, honestly. Like, and I don't know if it helps. I don't know if it helps to think this way. It's a lot of work. I don't even like that word, but it is. It's a lot of effort to think this way because it's so easy. Kanye West said, why is it so hard? Wait. Why are the things that make me feel so good got to be so bad? Right? Being lazy or not doing the things or just not standing up and going and doing stuff is really easy. Some of the things that make us feel good is like junk food and sweets.
Oh yeah, that's a whole topic of conversation. Yeah.
But it makes us feel good.
Momentarily.
Yeah.
And then...
Is that your goal?
Well, that's a whole conversation around instant gratification versus delayed gratification and how our society is basically built now for instant gratification.
Right.
Even though it's less, you feel less when it's instant.
Yeah. You willing to die for that donut?
No.
You willing to die to, or are you willing to live? Because, and I want to make something clear. Your willingness to die means willingness to live. Mm-hmm. That's the principle here. I say it in a morbid way because it gets attention. Not to me, but in general, it strikes people. Mm-hmm. Your willingness to die, in my mind and perspective, means your willingness to live in the moment. And how to science the fuck out of that, I can do it, but it would take me a long time, like longer than 30 minutes on a TED Talk. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm trying to figure out how to squeeze the science and the logic into something smaller. But ultimately, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You gonna die for the donut?
What are you willing to live for?
It's the same question as die for.
Oh, that's why I asked
My
it
principles.
in the less morbid way.
My principles.
What are your principles?
Man, that's another hour-long conversation.
Okay.
But if I were to sum it, honestly, if I were to sum it up is be, I don't want to use any buzzwords because they're always flying around, but being true to yourself, being true to your principles, hanging on to that, it's like a circular reference is the way I think of it. My liberty and the liberty of the people that I care for and love, their right to think and be and live truly, holy. I feel the same way. My people, my tribe, that's Mother Nature. Mm-hmm. She's like my main chick. You know what I'm saying? She's like my main chick.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put myself between a boat and a whale hunting boat, and something like that. I'm not going to do that. There's systems and processes for tackling those problems. But if I'm struck in a moment to stop something, I'll stop it. I'm willing to put my life on the line for it if it's in principle in that range for me.
Mm-hmm. It's like following your inner compass of what's right and wrong for you.
In the moment, yeah. And I'll make the right decision in the moment, whether I'm willing to, what risk I'm willing to take in that consequence, if it's the moment of truth or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, my principles. What I see as a value and principle in that moment, I choose. I get to choose. And there's a lot of them, right? We're faced with it all day long.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of hard. That's why I say it's a loaded question because it's kind of hard to say, what are your principles? What are your values? I don't have a checklist.
Because it's variable probably every day.
Catch me in the moment. Yeah.
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 Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to add?
No. I've said probably way too much nonsense already.
Is there anything else I should ask? Dave says nothing.
Well, what do you want to get out of this episode?
I think that we've covered quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've shared a lot of your unique perspectives on life. And I think it's fun to have a conversation about these sorts of things that hopefully will be able to help people find their way as well.
Their pants.
Yeah. And I feel like you're someone that totally lives as who you are, which is something that not a lot of people are willing to do or able to do. So it's cool to sit down with you and have a conversation.
No, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
I try. I'm trying really hard to be my best person I can be. Honestly.
Oh,
that's where I'm at.
This just reminded me, you probably have some of the best manners that I have ever experienced, especially here in Southern California.
Manners?
Yeah, you say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You're
that
very
doesn't
polite.
mean manners. That just means I grew up in the South.
Yeah, but like you open the
Right?
door for people. You're always very nice.
I do like interacting with people. So I think that's actually what it boils down to. It's kind of like the redhead thing. You know, when you see a redheaded kid, there's 100 ways you can interact with people. But there's one real clear distinction. You have a choice to or not to. Most people choose not to interact, right? Why?
I would think that perhaps it's because, one, they're uncomfortable or they don't want to interrupt somebody else, perhaps. Or maybe they're afraid to say something that's like, they're afraid to be themselves and it not go well.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah. Don't have time. They're in a hurry.
Yeah.
There's something else on their mind. A lot of reasons. I take pride in, not only pride, but I enjoy interacting with people. You know, genuinely enjoy the interaction with people.
Yeah.
Thinking, I talk too much. I say too much oftentimes. And, you know, my mom and my dad are the same way. I don't know. We're just social butterflies, if you will. But given the opportunity to say something or not say something, oftentimes I'll say something unless I'm in a mood. And I really want to say something positive to help somebody out if I can. Just give them a little oomph. And it helps me too when I do it, you know? So, yeah, I think it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Thank you for the compliment on politeness. I genuinely feel like it's just a genuine interest in interacting with people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Enjoy it. It gets me going. Like a kid. You know, like those kids that are like, hey, how's it going? Nice dog. And then just like running around, you know, just talking to everyone. That's me. That's pretty much me. I'm a child.
Oh, I think we all are.
Yeah. I love it. Just
do
let
too.
it out. Let the inner child out.
Yes. The inner child never dies.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, it always lives.
Rather, it always lives. I love that. No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for sitting down and asking me to sit down with you, honestly.
Yeah.
I always enjoy talking with you, and we don't get a chance to do this.
I know. Yeah. This is fun.
It's been you're a good friend.
Thank you, Logan. You are too.
And thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us on Who Wears Your Pants. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Who Wears Your Pants. Please do me a favor and hit subscribe, leave me a review or a comment so that I can turn this disaster of a show into something great. I need you. No, seriously, I do. And if you're feeling really invigorated, check out my corner of the interweb at kirstentrammell.com or become my friend on the gram at Kirsten__Trammell. Because as a ginger, I need all the friends I can get. Peace and love, my homies. I will see you next time.